Hey everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. Alex Karp is keeping Palantir at the front of mind for the country because of their major role in artificial intelligence. Palantir is on a media spree this week, and I've already covered multiple interviews this week with Jacob Hellberg and Alex Karp, and just yesterday on CNBC at S4G, or Software for Government. But Alex Karp also spoke with Fox Business at this event too. So I'm only highlighting on my thoughts, especially the Elon Musk question here, but check out the full 10-minute interview on Fox Business's website, and this was also shared by Deep Value, who easily linked it. So since the conversation started at S4G, the major topic they talked about was Ukraine. Palantir is increasingly being recognized as one of the main drivers of their country's survival at this point, and it's not a secret at all, and it's being openly talked about that Palantir's AI is powerful in bringing bird's eye view or a complete picture there. And of course, Alex Karp has talked about the kill chain and targeting that's happened for the algorithms. So I just think it's great when this topic comes up overall for Palantir because first, Palantir gets this kind of nice PR to the general public that they are in a real world example. The whole world knows about it. And it may not necessarily be relatable to everyone, but it's much more out in the open than, say, doing Homeland Security or CIA or FBI services that usually stays under wraps. Also, to Europe specifically, it was even brought up that even though there are those who disagree with continuing the war in Ukraine, of course at home in the US since it's much more distant, the real folks who see the actual threat of Russia is their neighbors on the border. And Palantir has done a great job meeting and working with those nations' leaders like Finland, Estonia, and Lithuania. I've made previous videos on those before. But these Baltic countries are literally on the frontline border of what the adversary is capable of, and they've seen that. And yes, they are part of NATO, so it may deter the immediate actions from Putin. But over time, someone backed into a corner can do things we don't expect, and you never really know. Now, the biggest part of the interview, in my opinion, is Fox asking about Elon Musk. And Karp does a good job here, not putting words in anyone else's mouth or trying to portray anyone in a negative light. It's highly publicized, too, about Elon wanting to take away Starlink for Ukraine's military usage, at least. But Karp gives a diplomatic answer here that uses what works regardless of someone's politics. And this has been a cultural highlight of Palantir as well as an organization to have free discourse. So having an intellectual exercise or conversation about what is right and wrong is still separate from actually doing what's practical and what works. And Karp basically said they're still going to use Starlink because it works. And from my interpretation, as long as it's available, Palantir will continue to use that data source to help the Ukrainians and get a full picture with data when they can. Now, if this means that they are customers to each other's or formalize that relationship, it's not as important there, and we'll see over time if anything ever formalizes between SpaceX's Starlink and Palantir. But what's more important to highlight from this interview in general is that Palantir is going to work with the organization to solve problems and do what works. It might be a little bit hard to work with folks that have different opinions, but they'll get the job done, and this is a strong message to the commercial side here that you just want to get the business done and get it done right. Now, if you're an adversarial country, that's a different story and conversation, and this whole conversation was highlighted showing that Palantir is for the West and will continue to only serve those countries deemed as allies. China and Russia are off limits and out of the question, and I really can't envision them ever doing business with them in my lifetime unless some sort of fantasy world of world peace or new regimes happen there. And the importance of not only this interview, but also the media happening this whole week for Palantir and all those different interviews is that they are one of the few companies who seem to be successfully transitioning from solely government work and innovation to the commercial side. If you're trying to look for another example, there are plenty back during the Cold War era, especially to hardware. But in recent times, most innovation and technology were happening on the commercial side and then having the government catch up and adopting that technology. It's honestly refreshing as an investor because the stricter protocols of government in terms of regulation and security carries over well into the commercial side. So if you build your products based on data security rather than selling out user data to advertisers, you come up with a very strong enterprise product like AIP. And we've been seeing that being adopted strongly from their latest AIP con. Of course, that's based on the words of Alex Karp, but we'll see in the latest earnings if that's actually increasing the customer count there. And even though they're not necessarily monetizing it today, I know that's a question that comes up a lot for investors. To use AIP effectively, right? You're using Foundry and also the ontology that Palantir is very strong at. And this is revenue generating for them, and it shows the real value to these customers on what a complete picture can bring when you're using your algorithms. Just because you can deploy an algorithm, if you have dirty data in the back end, basically garbage in, garbage out. But if you have strong securities to manage that data and how the AI can also interact with it, then you of course have the peace of mind of using it, but also the highest quality possible with your proprietary data, as well as your proprietary algorithms, or if the third-party ones that you're using out there. But that's just my opinion here on this interview. What are your thoughts on the latest Fox Business interview and everything else happening this week with Palantir? I know there's a lot to catch up on, but let me know below, and thank you all and to my channel members for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.